All right, welcome back. We're going to start our second part of this three-part project, which is doing our business card, letterhead, and envelope for the company Google. So we already done the business card project, and we're going to go ahead and open up that one and use that as a resource for making our letterhead. So here's the business card that we just made. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to get rid of the name. We really don't need it. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to resize the elements and the information for our letterhead. So to do that, we need to go under File and Document Setup. And we're going to change the actual page size from US business card to letter. And we want to make sure that it is set to portrait. And we're going to change the margin over to a 1/2 inch. Now, if you change the number in the margins on one of these, and you have that little link icon selected, any number that you put in there, when you switch to the other settings, all will match up automatically for you. So this is the way we can get an even uniform margin all the way around the page. Now, we don't need no bleed or no slug for this particular setup, so let's go ahead and just say OK. And I'm going to hit Command 0 so you can see the whole page. And I'm going to hit W to toggle off. Now you'll see that we have all the elements from our business card still here. And if we go to our master page, you'll see that the margins have been set to 1/2 inch. But over here in the pages, if you go to page 1, you'll see that the margins are still the old margins from the business card. So to apply the new one, all we have to do is take this master page, which is sitting under the page panel, and we click and we just drag it onto that page 1, and you'll see that the margins automatically change to what is set up in the master setup. Okay? So before we go any farther though, we need to turn around and do a save as. And we want to make sure that we save this as Google Letterhead. And for me, it's a demo. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave the demo part there and save it down so that we don't overwrite our business card. We want to make sure we save that layout. Okay? So make sure you save as. All right. So here we have the actual logo. And let's put the logo on the top. Now, one thing you'll notice when I'm dragging around, you'll see these little guides appear, okay, on the screen. And that's because under View, Guides, I have Smart Guides turned on. The nice thing is that using Smart Guides, it will allow you to line up against other elements that are on the page or on the page itself center wise. Okay, so make sure that you turn that on so that you'll see what we're getting. And if you saved your setup from last time, you should be using the actual workspace for printing and proofing. Okay, so you can see all the different options, everything that we have. So let's go ahead and move this Google to the very top. And if you'll notice, if I go towards the center of that page, you'll see that guide, that smart guide turn up that tells us that we're centered vertically on the page. Okay. We want our logo to be a little bit bigger than this. And so if you click on your actual graphic over here, we can turn around and change the width of the actual frame that it's sitting in. And I'm going to go to 2.5 inches. Okay. And now the frame that it's sitting in is 2.5 inches wide. And I think that's a pretty good size for the logo itself. But if you notice, when I resized the frame, it just resized the frame. It did not resize the graphic at all. So to fix this, all we need to do is to come up on the top here on our properties panel, and you'll see we have some options on how to fill the frame. So here it says fill the frame proportionately, fit content proportionately, and that's really what we want. We want to go ahead and fill that content proportionally. We don't really want to stretch our graphics. Now you'll notice that the graphic actually fits from top to bottom, but it doesn't fit side to side, because when you fit it proportionally, it's going to not stretch that graphic, but it stopped because it reached the top on the bottom, okay, with that graphic. So if we turn around and make it just a little bit larger, and we go ahead and go back to fit content proportionally, you'll see now that it sits there properly. And if we click on the auto fit, when we can actually make this graphic large now, and it will fit in proportion to what we have. Okay. One thing you'll see that it now fits from side to side, but the top and bottom's a little bit off. You got a little bit of space, and we can fix that by using the fit frame to content, and it will squeeze that frame all the way around the graphic. And that's really what we want. We want that graphic to fill that frame, but not lose that measurement of 2.5 inches. So let's just go ahead and retuck that graphic back up to the top. And we now have the graphic at 2.5 inches wide, proportionately sized. Okay. Let's go ahead and save what we got so we won't lose it. Then we're going to work with the rest of the information. We're going to take the address part and take it down to the bottom. And now we'll just stretch that frame all the way across to the other side to give us some room. So we have all the information here, and we're going to expand this frame out so we can put this information down here as well. So we're going to take our text tool, and we're going to go and click on our address, and we're going to take the bottom part where it says Palo Alto and bring it up. Okay, and we're just going to put a comma to separate that. Now what we want to take the rest of this information, and we're just going to cut that out, and we're going to click and hit return and paste that in. Now when we paste it in, you'll notice that we have a little plus here on the very right hand side, and that tells us that there's information that is off the frame. Okay, so what I want you to do is hit your escape one time, escape key I should say, and we're going to get our pointer, and that will allow us to pull the information up so we can actually see it. All right, and we'll pull it up so we can move this around, and we're going to line it up with the rest of the information over here on the left hand side, which is the address. So first thing, we want to go ahead and hit the T key on your keyboard, and that takes us back to text mode. And we're going to take the fax and we're going to hit delete, which will bring it up to the next line up, which is right where the office is. We're going to give it a space, and I want you to hit your shift backslash, and that's right above your return key on your keyboard, and that's going to give you a vertical bar. Go ahead and give it another space, and the bar will act as a separator for all the information that we have, such as the telephone number, fax number, etc. And let's do the same thing with the email. Let's go ahead and hit delete, and that'll bring that information to the next line up. Let's do the same thing again. Let's go ahead and create that separator to separate the fax number from the email, and we're good to go there. Let's do this now. We're going to take the Google website. We're going to select the text first, then hit Command X, which allow us to cut the actual text out of there. And we'll just go ahead and select the end of that line. We'll go and put another bar in there. And after that, we'll hit Command V for pasting. And that'll paste that information at the end. So now we have that, and all we have to do is click one time anywhere in that text block, and we'll hit Command A, and we're going to tell it to center here in the top. Okay, and since we got this extra space here, we can get rid of that. We don't really need it. And now all we have to do is kind of just put it down towards the bottom. And let me zoom in and show you what I'm talking about. We're going to zoom in on here, and you want to go ahead and let's align the actual bottom of the text to the bottom of the margin. And you can use your pointer to click and drag it up and down, okay, and get it to where it sits right on that bottom edge. And the reason why is, if we look at it now, you'll see we have, and I'm hitting the W to turn our preview on and off, you'll see that we got the same amount of space here as the same amount of space on the bottom. Okay, and that really creates a sort of a visual rectangle of white or empty space around the whole thing, which kind of frames it. Okay, so I'm gonna hit W again so we can turn off our preview mode, and that text block that we used earlier, that frame, we can go ahead and click on it and delete it. We really don't need it anymore. We're done. And let's go ahead and say what we have. And really, we're ready to go. We have the name of the company on the top. We have the address and the information such as their phone number, fax, email, and web address. Okay, ready to go. One thing to note is, if we go here to the top where we have our rulers, we can actually click on that ruler and drag down a guide. Okay, and if we go down, we can take it to about 1.5 inches, and you'll see when we let go, it'll tell you where that guide is sitting. Okay, so we got 1.5 inches here, and I want to take another guide and drag it down to where the 10-inch mark is. And you can see when you're dragging it that there's a little dialog box to the right that tells you what your measurement is. So I'm going to let go at 10 inches. And when I do that, it'll also say up here that it's at 10 inches. And the reason why I did this, let me click off of it, so that you'll see everything below that guide and above this guide is where your typing, the person using this on the word processor is supposed to be. So now you know that when you talk with them or set their page up for them, the margin on their page needs to be set to 1.5 inches so it misses the actual logo. and the other one is going to be at 10 inches, okay, so that, or an inch up, okay, so that it doesn't run into the actual address and phone number information on the bottom. The area between the guides are for them to work in. Make sense? All right, cool. Let's go ahead and save that down so we don't lose what we have. Now, this is your traditional way of setting up a letterhead. If you didn't like that, everything being centered, which is symmetrical, okay, you can go ahead and, let me turn off the preview, and take and move the graphic if you want, put it off to the side, and that'll give it a different look, except that when you look at the graphic here on the top and the information on the bottom, it really looks a little unbalanced because this is in the middle and this is on the left hand side. Now you can balance that out just by taking your type tool, which is hitting your T on your keyboard, and going to where the type is and selecting all and switching it to align to the right instead. Now I'm going to hit my escape key and click off of it and hit W so you can see what the preview is. And this is a more of a modern look if you want to do it this way, and it's more balanced because you have a graphic that's sitting over here on the left hand side, and you have the information to contact them on the lower right, but you still have that actual spacing all the way around, okay? And that's what really makes the layout balanced. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this down because I like that look. It's a little more modern look, and really we're done with this letterhead tutorial. In our next video, we're going to complete the set by making a number 10 envelope. See you next time.